I do want the cigar to be a cigarette, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, because cigarette denotes more of a gambler, while a cigar style. You know what I mean?
But, that was draft number 1. I was proud of it.
I think it's great.
Just kept thinking, don't be too big and forget.
Yeah. Did you mark it down?
Well, because ChatGPT had it, that was my record keeping, or I would have forgot. Yeah.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to the Stochastic.com MLB strategy show. 13 game action today on a Friday. Also, we head into the NBA finals. Wild that they're making us wait a week for game 1. What?
I'm mad about it.
No, I mean, it is what it is. I was happy to get those. Honestly, I was happy to get those conference finals over. From a betting perspective, I was just, it was not good.
I would have really preferred to, 1, be able to play lineups last night, which was not a thing on DraftKings. And then 2, I actually kind of wanted to get an NBA slate on Saturday. We have a great UFC pay-per-view. Katie's out of town, so I don't have shit else to do. So I was kind of okay with this going 6, giving me something to do on Saturday, but at least I still have MMA and baseball.
Yeah. Well, you got MMA, you got baseball, 13 game slate. Dallas takes them out in 5.
Yeah.
I look, we'll get into baseball in just a second here, but I mean, we have our finals matchup, so we must, just take 1 second because I want your thoughts. You're the basketball guy. How lopsided of a matchup do you think this is? Because I don't think it's okay, Boston's minus 210. I get that. This Dallas team, man, Derek Lively is so much better than I could have ever imagined.
Yeah.
The 25 or so minutes that you get from him off the bench are so dramatically different from anybody else you'd get off the bench. This team is actually really, really good. People thought Minnesota was going to come in and just wipe the floor with them, and it was the complete opposite. This Mavs team, defensively and offensively, but specifically defensively over the last 2 months, has been an entirely different team, getting Gafford and then a huge step up from Derek Lively at the 5.
I'm fascinated by all of it because I do think that it's relatively lopsided as far as finals matchups go. That doesn't mean Dallas can't go out there and win. Dallas has the best player. And when you have the best player, all bets are off. But I think Boston is significantly better than Dallas. I expect Boston to roll. I think they're good. I think they've been one of the better regular season teams that have ever existed. They've had great fortune in the playoffs, so they are at least gearing up to be relatively healthy. They're incredibly healthy, other than Kristaps Porzingis, and he might be healthy now after sitting out for the past month. They're loaded. Their defense is absolutely stacked. They don't have a hole anywhere on the team. I think this is a very tough series for Dallas. I just don't think they have enough firepower.
Neither do I. But what I'm saying is, I wouldn't be at all surprised if this ends up being a series. And I think Kyrie
not at all.
I think Kyrie Irving is the actual X factor here, not Luka, because you know what Luka's going to do. If Irving has those fourth quarter heroics like we've seen, he makes a huge difference. It's just when you have 2 of those guys clicking, going for 30 points apiece, they're very difficult team to beat. So
yeah, the defense is just so crazy because no matter where Kyrie turns, it's not like he's getting a good matchup. You start with Derek White, now you're switched and it's Jaylen Brown, and now all of a sudden it's switched and it's Drew Holiday. Oh no, it's switch again. Now it's Jason Tatum. Oh, they switched again. Now it's Al Horford on the switch. It's just where do you?
Yeah,
there's no respite.
But also, let's not pretend that Minnesota defense wasn't really good. I mean, they tried
different for Kyrie though.
Yeah, a size thing.
Yeah, the guard defense on Boston is a lot better than what the guard defense was for Minnesota.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway,
it's a very different look.
Happy to have you guys with us. Hey, if you don't mind, take 1 single second to atone for your sins this morning. Going into the weekend on the strategy show, huge slate, a lot of good pitching, a lot of good options across the board. But take a second. Tap that thumbs up. If you hate this show, hit the thumbs down. Make sure to do it twice, though, and subscribe to the channel. Goes a very long way for us, and we appreciate you in advance. As always, you want to listen in podcast form? Go for it. Apple Podcast, Spotify. What's that obscure one you listen on?
Overcast?
Yeah, that one. I think we're there too. I mean, you can find us anywhere.
Oh, you
So,
mean you mean the best podcast app universally?
yeah, it's really messing my life up that I can't,
I
wipe
save
out
so much time.
30 seconds of dead air.
Yeah. 30
Anyway,
seconds is a lot, man. Shit
yeah,
adds up
for
every
sure.
day.
But
Adds up.
glad you guys can hang. Let's dive into it. So, um, looking at this slate when you're just like pulling up the top stacks, top pitchers tool, the first thing I always look at is just like how flat is it? Because there are some bigger slates where you actually have a big disparity in ownership.
Yeah.
This one, not so much. Like, for example, there's no Coors, there's no Dodgers at Coors, no Phillies at Coors. Not that they were any good, but like there's no team with a double digit collective ownership as far as stacks go. There's no team with a massive implied total, and there's no team with a top stack probability north of 8%. So it's
No.
actually pretty flat for such a big slate.
Very, very flat. Like my number one team is, and I don't mean in ownership. I mean like the way that I have them ranked. I have the Braves as the number one team. They're 8th in ownership. The Blue Jays are my most exposed team. They're 9th in ownership. It's ultra, ultra, ultra flat. So you can take some stands no matter what you like. There is no chalk side really of anything. Like are Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, and Freddie Freeman getting a little bit more ownership than others? Yeah. Well, it's because you could roster whoever you want on a 13 gamer, and those guys are really, really good at baseball.
And by the way, similarly, the and this should be the case, like the pitching so ownership is a little bit different for pitching
Yeah.
because there's a couple guys that are getting a lot. But I think what matters the most is you have to look at the leverage on some of these pitchers today.
Yeah.
We don't have you have what 8 pitchers, naturally if you're looking at this slate, the best ones on the slate, all between 5 and 16% top 2 pitcher probability on DraftKings. And many of them are getting far less ownership than some of the ones up top. Like Walker Buehler, 8,700 against Coors, is getting 26%.
Yeah. He's I've inverted those numbers. I have 62 of Walker Buehler right now. He is to me the best guy on the slate. Colorado Rockies in Los Angeles, 26% aggregate K rate. He's got like a 6 strikeout prop. Oh, it looks good.
It does. I'm not sure I'm fully buying into Buehler yet, though. He did have one very nice start against Cincinnati. Yeah, I don't know. Like, is this the same Buehler before the injury that sidelined him for as long as it did?
The betting market seems to think so.
This is true. Yes, they do. I mean, the betting market also had, it is funny because last time out, actually, I remember betting under on his K prop, which was 5.5. He finished with 4.
5.5 juice to the over today.
What is it?
5.5 juice to the over.
Oh, I thought
today.
You said 7.5. I was going to say hammer the under on that. 5.5 juice to the over. Yeah, that's not bad. Look, his velocity looks fine. Everything looks okay. I mean, his velocity is definitely not what it used to be by any stretch of the imagination, but it's where it was essentially last time he pitched. But the way I see it, like, okay, so you're getting a ton of Walker Buehler.
I am.
But all right, so Tanner Bybee's facing Washington. Not the best strikeout matchup, but still not a bad spot. Washington has essentially the same implied total as Colorado. Tanner Houck has Detroit at 9,600.
Yeah.
There's just Jose Soriano has Seattle at 8. He's 18% owned. I don't know. Like Ronaldo Lopez is 8,600 against Oakland. It's a good spot. Oakland survives on power. I talked about that yesterday. This is not a team that's going to, load the bases with runners. They survive on power. But Ronaldo Lopez, I don't know what's going on with him, and I was trying to figure it out. His pitch counts have been oddly low, man. Like, go look at Ronaldo Lopez's pitch counts.
On it. By the way, I'm stacking against him.
Well, that's ridiculous.
Go A's.
Stacking it. The guy's allowed 2 home runs all season. He just doesn't give up power
Well, sounds
against a
like he's
team that
due.
lives on power. That might be
Sounds
true.
like he's due.
That might be true.
Yeah, 70 pitches last time out, 83 the game before that, 72 the game before that. Hmm.
I know. Maybe someone in chat knows something I don't. But like, dude, even looking at his expected rates, of course, he's not going to hold a 1.75 ERA throughout the season. And there's some things that look good, but man, he's been able to keep the ball in the yard big time.
Marlins have the second best bullpen over the last 10 days. Would be careful with Texas. Man, Sean V, years and years of being here for these shows, you haven't learned a damn thing. It's incredible. Nothing has soaked into your brain. I don't know how that's possible. You would think just after hearing everybody talk through osmosis, something would improve. It didn't. It's just it's awful.
Has Sean been joining you in the NBA strategy shows?
No, thank God.
Oh, so you're reacquainted with Sean after a little while, then is what we're getting at here.
Yeah. And apparently nothing, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Imagine caring about the bullpen for the past 10 days, saying that out loud like it's a real thing. Oof.
Welcome back.
Oof. I mean, what are we doing here? This guy threw 1 1/3 innings in the past 10 days. Look out. You got 4 outs.
Look out. I don't know, man. I think ownership is kind of odd here. Now, I will just full disclosure. I'm also getting a lot of Walker Buehler. Like I ran the Sims. I have 55% Walker Buehler right now. So I'm not off from where you're at either.
My man.
It's just always one of those things where, I look at these huge slates and I go, man, there's some really good pitchers that are getting very little ownership. And granted, Bueller's price point is pretty favorable, but I mean, how about the fact that, and I know he's expensive, but Ronel Blanco is getting 1% ownership right now. We have Ronel Blanco with the 5th highest top 2 pitcher probability, and he's getting 0 ownership. And then amazingly, I'm still really not getting to much of him because of that price point.
I think he's properly owned.
Right. Like if Ronel Blanco's 80, if what Ronel Blanco is Walker Buehler's price point today, I guarantee you, he's like 15+% with how good he's been.
Also, to face the Colorado Rockies outside of Coors, like that's the driving factor here. They're awful. I have them projected for a 294 WOBA. That is next level dog shit. Like they are really bad. They've got 3 dudes that project with a 30% or higher K rate in this spot, in Ryan McMahon, in Brenton Doyle, and Sean Bouchard. Like, and that they got a couple others at 27 and 28. There are strikeouts galore in this team. They can't hit worth shit. Walker Buehler is the play today.
You're right. And Clayton said Ronaldo Lopez was a reliever in the past. They're being careful because their pitching is so thin. Yeah, 100%. And that was really all I could get out of it. The difference, though, is that you were still getting him, and you were still getting a decent amount of pitches from this guy. But recently, it appears that they've been even more cautious with him. And that's kind of what I was getting at. Yeah. And recently, Ronaldo Lopez, the reason I say this, though, is because I'm honestly, and sure, you lost Spencer Strider, which is a pretty significant deal, but he only made
losing Strider and Acuna from my favorite team the moment baseball season is about to start is pretty annoying.
But the thing is, dude, you lost Strider after 2 starts. You didn't lose Strider like 3 starts ago. And you see, so maybe this is like a calculated approach that started recently. All I'm saying, man, is when you look at Ronaldo Lopez's ownership, he's getting 25%. Yes, it's a good matchup. I do have some concerns about his pitch count, though. Like 8,500 against the A's. If I thought he was on no leash whatsoever, man, I'd love him today. But I have some reservations about that, just knowing that at the first sign of any danger, they're yanking this guy at 70, 75 pitches.
Yeah, I have some, but not a lot. I have 16%. So coming in below that projected mark. Like I think you have to get to him just because of the matchup itself. It's not like you're super worried about the A's. It's a great strikeout matchup. Um, but I don't see him as the second best option. And that's what the ownership is saying.
Another thing though that worked in his favor a little bit though is this guy, if you look at the days between pitches for him or between outings, he's getting like 6-7 days between every outing. Last one where he threw only 70, he only had the typical 4 days rest. Now he hasn't pitched since the 25th. So maybe there's something to be said about like, yeah, he's got an extra day.
Maybe.
It still looks like his leash is shorter than a lot of these other, 8K and up pitchers. That's all I'm saying.
And today is a day where, like on a slate this big, I mean, you need a bigger score. There's no, like, you don't want to just be kind of right. Like, you need to be right when you have 13 games out there. There's just too many different options of getting to the upper echelon of pitcher scoring. So the matchup looks good, but you need him to be out there for 5.5, 6 innings at a minimum. Hopefully you get a start like he got on April 24th where he went 7. Like that's the dream scenario here.
For sure. I mean, if this were yesterday's early slate with 3 games and a bunch of terrible pitchers, I wouldn't care if Ronaldo Lopez was limited to 65 pitches today.
No, not at all. Wouldn't matter. 13 games though, completely different story.
Yep. By the way, we had somebody asking why Hogan Harris was getting dished out in the Sims a lot yesterday. Hogan Harris ended up being the guy.
There was basketball yesterday, so as far as I know, baseball didn't exist.
Early slate. My point is he was cheap, and it's like, man, he's going against Tampa in Tampa. 5 2/3, 1 earned, 7 strikeouts for Hogan Harris at 6,400. Ended up being it's just one of those where the Sims guide you and you just kind of go, all right, you know what? All of these other guys stink. Dude, yesterday's early slate was so wild that Jake DeWitt, and I mean, we did this, more so as like a let's see what happens. Ended up playing the opener and the long man for the same team. That's how bad pitching was yesterday.
Wait, what?
He ended up playing the opener and the long reliever for the same team in the same lineup.
That's okay.
Look, I mean, we all agreed it wasn't an optimal approach, but pitching was so bad that those were actually the conversations you had to have yesterday. Daniel Lynch the fourth was a starting pitcher. What do you know about Daniel Lynch the fourth?
I mean, he's the son of Daniel Lynch the third.
It was bad, dude.
Best I could do.
It was not bad. But yeah, it was wild. But point being, today, I think you make a good point where you're not like 15 fantasy points from an $8,500 pitcher is not getting you there.
No, you're shooting for 25 apiece.
What do you make of Barrios today? He's a kind of another one of those guys that I thought I would get more of, but I'm not. Like Pittsburgh's a bottom 3 team in all major categories against righties, 5th highest K rate against righties. He's been fantastic at home, and they're minus 162 favorites, so there's real win equity here. But we have him as just a really negatively leveraged pitcher today in the tools.
I'm like dead neutral to him. We're projecting 14% ownership. I got to 16. I do think that he's a little
decent amount.
I do think he's a little overowned. I just think that he's sort of just showing up for me because I'm casting a pretty wide net. He's one of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got the big Walker Buehler stand, and then I have 5 pitchers that are making up a large majority of my exposure. Tanner Babi, Ronaldo Lopez, Jose Barrios, Jose Soriano, and then Tobias Myers.
How much Bybee are you getting?
I have spot on the number, 20%.
What about Dylan Cease today?
I guess my biggest fade, projected for 17% ownership, currently in 0 of my lineups. I like the spot to a degree. The park certainly helps. Ball stays in Kansas City, generally speaking. Not a lot of strikeouts, though, in that Royals lineup, and that's sort of where the problem happens. Bobby Witt doesn't K. Pasquantino doesn't K. Adam Frazier doesn't K. Top of the order isn't really a lot of Ks. It's really like Nelson Velasquez, MJ Melendez, and that's about it. Must because ends in ez.
Could be. And there's also weather here. So I don't know how that's going to impact this game. It's really the only game with any notable weather. But
Yeah.
so the funny thing about pitching today, and you don't really have, like, I don't look at any of these pitchers. Bueller's probably the one. I have some reservations there, but it's just impossible to get away from at that price point in this matchup in LA. You just kind of have to do it. But none of these other guys am I really in love with. I think there's just a bunch of them where you're going to get around the field. Like Walker Bueller's likely going to be your highest exposed pitcher. But then aside from that, you look at a few of these guys. So Tanner Houck against Detroit, he's good. He's good. And
by the way, that's another fade for me.
Houck, okay.
Yeah.
But again, this is a very solid pitcher. I'm also getting right now 5%. I'll tell you who my highest exposed pitchers are right now. There are 4 of them above 28%, and that would be Bueller, Soriano, Dylan Cease, and Tanner Bybee at 55%, 48, 34, and 28. And the thing about Soriano is, you haven't done a lot of shows with me, but I've just, my motto all season long has just been righties against Seattle. And dude, more times than not, it works out really well. It's not always going to work out, right?
70% of the time it works every time.
There you go. I would say it's like, I don't know, you tell me, chat. I feel like we're at probably an 80% success rate, just targeting semi-decent righties against the Seattle Mariners. Shit, dude, Spencer Arrighetti yesterday, who came into the game with a 6+ ERA, goes 6 scoreless with 8 strikeouts against Seattle in Seattle. Arguably the best pitcher's park in the league. So, yes, I will go back to the well once again with Soriano with zero hesitation. I've been hammering K props on these guys all season long, and Soriano's got decent stuff. He's not a bad pitcher at all.
He's my second most exposed pitcher right now.
Nice.
We're in lockstep so far.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
You're gonna get off the train that I'm on when we get to the offenses. That's gonna where I'm gonna zig while you zag. But pitching, I think we're in lockstep. Other than Dylan Cease, which you can. It's not gonna be everybody.
Give me your 5 again.
Bueller. Well, technically it's 6. Bueller, Tanner Bibee, Ronaldo Lopez, Jose Barrios, Soriano, Tobias Myers.
Okay. By the way, Myers is my 5th highest exposed right now.
There we go.
And this is me running the Sims.
And this is me fully independent of the Sims too.
Right. So that tells you, yeah, we're very similar here.
Yeah.
Barrios is the only one I thought I'd get more of that I'm not really getting much of. And I think it's just because in our tools, we have him negatively leveraged. Not a crazy amount, but a bit negatively leveraged. Also, the ceiling on Barrios isn't really anything special. And I wonder if that plays into it. Like, generally speaking, getting that big high ceiling, that upside game from Barrios isn't that easy. But
no,
go ahead.
I think it's more like 8,200 is going to work as a price. Lefty power, like, I mean, he's really only got to dodge. Not, I say only, like it's good, but like Brian Reynolds and O'Neal Cruz are going to be a problem. Otherwise, I'm not really worried about anything in this. Like, it's a pretty bad lineup other than those 2 guys. They just happen to be his specific kryptonite.
For what it's worth, by the way, I actually did an Underdog video and I took the higher on fantasy points for Barrios today.
What's the scoring system?
It's like very similar to FanDuel scoring.
Okay.
So Einsteinian with a super chat. What's up, brother? Any consideration for Kenta Maeda or Michael Wacha today? So
Wacha's a hard no for me.
Okay. Kenta Maeda is a hard no for me.
I'd be more likely to go to Kenta Maeda than I would Michael Wacha, but I don't have either guy.
You have none of either?
Not a single share of either one of them.
Okay. I will say, by the way, that losing Tyler O'Neill for the Red Sox, because look, this is an 11 homer guy. He's
Yeah.
definitely like he definitely has power. He's good. I think that actually, when you're looking for big pitcher performances, I think it actually hurts opposing pitchers.
Yeah, sure. I'm with you.
Because he has a 34% strikeout rate.
He does K from time to time.
That's a monster. Not the guy's striking out more than a third of the time.
I mean, when you're looking to acquire strikeouts as easily as possible there. Like it increases your downside, but it also is a giant increase to your upside.
Right. And I'm not saying like you're replacing him with a stud. Don't get me wrong, but I definitely think there's an element of, all right, if you're playing Kensington, you're looking for those strikeouts. Where are they coming from? Not the highest K team in Boston. And then Michael Wacha truly hasn't been bad. Like he's been pretty fine. But by the way, 6 1-run innings with 7 Ks against Seattle a few weeks ago. Shocker.
There you go.
It's just, dude, it's like clockwork. Won't always work, but when it does, it's most of the time. But Michael Wacha against San Diego, I know the offense has kind of been sputtering. I don't love that spot against. Plus, there's weather there in Kansas City. You might have like legitimate in-game delay concerns too.
I don't want to target San Diego. That's so difficult. There's no strikeouts. The lineup has a lot of talent in it. It just becomes really hard.
That's the thing. They really don't strike out much.
No, I mean, Luis Reyes, Profar, Cronenworth, Jackson Merrill, Campusano, they're all very low strikeout dudes.
Like I had some Braxton Garrett against them the other day. And he went 5 innings, 1 run, but only had 2 strikeouts. He got the win, and it was still only 13 DraftKings. Like
you know who didn't get the win? You Darvish.
Yeah. That was brutal, man.
Glad I had him in 98% of my stuff. I cashed 2 lineups.
Was the other 2%?
Probably.
Yeah, probably was. Okay, so Corbin, Falter, Sixto Sanchez, Dakota Hudson. None of these guys am I getting to. I'm just looking at some of these down here. Jordan Hicks has decent strikeout stuff, but against the Yankees, even at a good park, I can't say I'm interested. Urania doesn't strike guys out against Miami. I could see him going deep into this game. But
I have 6%.
What's that?
I have 6% of them.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Just random. I mean, it could be 0 if I reran everything right now.
I don't actually think it's the worst spot at 2% ownership. I think you could do worse than that because he's very cheap. He's super, super cheap, but he's also he's been good. The question is just like, is the upside there? 16% strikeout rate. Miami isn't the highest strikeout team. Getting rid of Arias is big, but still. I'm trying to see if there's anybody else even worth discussing. Okay. Yeah. Jason asked, and if you guys have questions, hit us up. But he said, no love for Wu or Blanco. I thought I would get a little bit of Blanco, Jason. The problem, and I'm not just like doing a show where it's solely reliant on the tools, but I can explain to you why I'm not getting a lot of him and why Josh isn't, or, you can explain for yourself if you'd like, but it really just comes down to the price point. He's a good pitcher, but there's too many of those 8 and 9K guys that are very similar to him. And it's just tough to pay that premium when you can get a similar spot with a very similar projection and elsewhere.
Yeah, I don't see the path. I think he looks like an actively bad play today, given his salary. I mean, I have him projected below basically everybody below him.
And sure, the question of ownership will come into play. I get that. And who do you ask about Brian Wu?
Yeah, I don't really have any.
I don't have any, but I don't hate it. I will say, I don't hate Brian Wu here.
Just not a great strikeout matchup. Bottom of the order looks good for it. Top of the order does not.
Yeah.
Not a strong Angels lineup, though.
No, Angels also significantly better against lefties as well. Although Rodon shut him down yesterday.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't like if you wanted to have 10 to 15% of Woo and that was a over the field stand, I don't think that's outlandish or anything. I don't have it, but I don't think that that would be nuts. I just prefer Tanner Babi.
Yeah. And honestly, I prefer Dylan Cease. Even though that matchup isn't amazing, I don't
I mean,
mind Dylan Cease.
because of the ownership, I think Woo probably looks very similar to Cease. I have them grading out as basically equal relative to salary. I'm not getting either one of them though, so I think that kind of explains it.
There is a guy who is getting ownership. I want you to see if you can guess who this is. Somebody getting ownership. Good pitcher. I really like him. I don't understand why he's getting this much ownership in this particular spot today.
So you don't like Pablo Lopez against the Astros?
It's an odd number there, dude. Honestly, nice guess. But
I have one share.
that's what I'm saying, right? Like, yes, he has a 28% K rate. Pablo Lopez, fantastic pitcher. No doubt. And he's even been a little bit unlucky this year. It's a 63% strand rate.
It's just a terrible spot.
It's a terrible spot. The strikeouts just like this is a Houston team that even if you shut them down, they're so good at making contact. Plus, people are like still misremembering. People are remembering like, oh, Houston got off to a terrible start. Well, fast forward, Josh, to essentially June now, and Houston is top 5 in WRC plus versus right-handed pitching. They're top 10 in ISO, top 5 in weighted on base average, and they strike out at an 18% clip. So, I mean, as good as Pablo Lopez is, I don't know if this is the day I want to run that risk because he's getting, listen, if Pablo Lopez was getting Ronel Blanco ownership today, I think I'd have a very different opinion at an $1,100 discount from Ronel Blanco.
Yeah, I mean, top 5 guys in steamer strikeout rate in their order: Altuve, Tucker, Alvarez, Pena, Bregman. 16, 15, 18, 20, and 13%. There's just no Ks at the top of the order. Pablo Lopez transcends that to a degree, but I expect balls in play, and that's not going to help out Pablo Lopez's ceiling, that's for sure.
No, it's not.
What's his strikeout prop actually?
I bet it's still at 5.5 juice to the under.
That's my assumption as well. I have him at 5.2. So it is 5.5 juice to the over slightly.
Really?
Yeah, minus 125 to the over. So, call it 5.6, 5.7, something like that.
Interesting. Hold on a second.
But maybe you change out one of those guys at the top of the order for a different dude, somebody sits. That's probably enough to grab a couple tenths of a strikeout.
Sure. And I loved George Kirby against them the other day. A lot. But George Kirby, I listen, I honestly do look at home and road splits for pitchers often because sometimes George Kirby at home has been outstanding. Like not just this year, but last. So there are certain spots where I'm willing to give a look towards some of these guys. And, he ended up being fantastic. So it's not that you can't do it. It's just 13 game slate is a little bit concerning for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like the ceiling is certainly there. He has elite strikeout stuff for this slate.
He's a great pitcher. I love Pablo Lopez. Man, he's been rocked in his last 2 starts.
Well, I hope that he doesn't get rocked today because I don't have the Astros.
Yeah. But at 15%, I wouldn't mind if he just gets Babbitt to death.
Very true.
I
don't really have anybody else on the pitching side that we need to talk about.
No, that's what I'm looking at now. Trying to see if there's any other comments. Rand said Hicks has been good, scary matchup. Yeah, I don't know if you need to run that risk today. Clayton, Seattle is a pretty big favorite. I'm seeing minus 172.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Let's get to some bats. Oh, and last day for the Mookie promo, Josh. This was only a 3-day promo because it's just too good to run for a week. 50% off the entirety of the month for everything that we have for MLB. MLB Sims Max Package monthly. What does that mean? Sims tool, contest generator, late swap tool, post-contest simulator, ownership projections, player projections, top stack tool, boom bust tool, top hitters tool, Top pitchers tool, lineup generator, premium disc. It's everything, dude. It's every single thing on the site 50% off.
It's oh god, it's so much coverage. NBA is basically done. MLB is just here. It's the gold standard sport for the next couple months. You get all if you sign up today, you get the entire month of June. What better time to have an MLB package than for the entire month of June? You're set up perfectly. You're seeing constant stochastic logos at the top of contests, whether it's Tom, whether it's Eddie, whether it's Steve, whether it's Sean Jeezy. It's just permanent over and over and over again. Come check out the tools, guys. Like, you want to grab 50% because our next promo, it's not going to be this.
I don't know if we run a promo again for MLB until
All-Star break.
I was going to say maybe All-Star break, maybe 4th of July. Yeah. But even so, I can't imagine it's going to be 50%. So
we should run a 34% promo for your boy right now.
What a disgrace. What a disgrace. Yeah, but anyway, guys, check it out. We'd love to have you over there. Say hi in the Discord if you have questions. Hit us up. 50% off everything for baseball over the next month. And you know what else I know? Oh, by the way, shout out to Density the other week. Like, that's what he goes by the way, like on Twitter. Took down the bat, second place in the bat flip for 20K. He was 0.9 out of first place, Josh, which was 50K, which is just brutal. But rocking the stochastic avatar. Dude, the stochastic avatar and some of the smaller entry stuff has been littered.
It's everywhere. Everywhere. It's easier to find people that don't have it.
Yeah, it really is. But we'd love to have you guys over there, and it's an awesome deal. Today's the last day, 50% off. Use the link in the description and the chat. You don't have to worry about that promo code. It'll auto load. 50% off, link in the description and in chat. So be sure to check that out. What was I going to say? I had something good to say, and now I can't.
There's no chance that's true.
Oh, it was something good.
Was it about 34?
Yeah, my recall is 0 for 34 today.
Yeah.
Shit, I can't remember. Anyway, that's all right. Pablo Lopez, by the way, Josh, the under is plus 110 on DraftKings. We actually have the true odds on under 5.5 at plus 114. So, wow. Okay.
Extra half strikeout hanging in there somewhere.
Yeah. Maybe I'm looking at Lopez wrong, for being honest.
No, I think we're right. It's just,
you think so?
Yeah, we'll see what happens when the Astros lineup comes out.
Yeah, no doubt. I just mean 5.5 juice to the over is like a pretty significant number for a matchup against the Astros. That's all I'm saying.
I agree.
You know, what's their implied total today?
I have it at 4.2. Yeah, okay.
Okay, yeah. I mean, same thing.
Yeah.
What's the money line?
It should be basically neutral.
Yeah, it's got to be like right around the like minus 110 on each side.
That's my assumption. I have the exact same line, so
minus 115 Astros, minus 105 Twins.
There you go.
Interesting though. Anyway, talk some bats.
Let's do it.
All right. So you said you and I are pretty much in lockstep when it comes to pitching for the most part.
We are.
I have a little bit more Dylan Cease right now than you, and things can obviously change throughout the day, especially as we start to get lineups coming in.
Of course.
And you have a bit more Berrios than I do.
I do.
I had to ask you about one more player, and that was Tobias Myers. We didn't talk about him, but he's got the White Sox today. I'm getting about 10% right now.
I have 20% right now. I think he's just sort of the best value option that exists at 6,900. White Sox are bad. They're probably the worst offense going today. It's either them or the Rockies on the road. It's probably the Rockies on the road. White Sox a close second. They don't look good in any way. The lineup is ultra weak. I got it at sub 300 aggregate WOBA. I had a 25-point gap in WOBA just for this game. Not that matters, but the White Sox just look atrocious. And Myers is not a good pitcher, but the value that you get out of him at 6,900 in this spot, I think, is why you're seeing him grab a little bit of ownership. He's the only guy sub 7K pulling anything more than 2% ownership, and I think it's justified.
I understand that 24% strikeout rate. You look, like last year, double A, 137 innings. He had, a near 30% K rate, an abbreviated time at triple A, 32% K rate. So he should have a decent enough strikeout stuff to where, if the White Sox continue to be as bad as they are, he seems fine. So just wanted to get that out there because anytime you got a pitcher facing the White Sox, we got to talk about it.
Agreed. Yeah, he's my third most exposed guy.
Oh, and I said I had something good I wanted to say. I remembered it. I was talking about the MLB promo.
Okay.
If you were doing it like before any of these early ones where basketball was still happening, the prize pools were a lot smaller. You see it today, these prize pools, like the mini max too, 75K mini max. That's the biggest you're going to get right now.
I was hoping for 100K for baseball today, like this big old Friday, no basketball type slate, but no dice.
100K up top, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. But they have.
I'll just have to win 50K.
Sure. They have increased. Like you have the 250 4 max entry. That's $100,000 prize pool. The Mega 8s is 300. The bat flip, still 50K up top. But what I like about this is they've made some of the smaller, like the non marquee matchup or contest. They've made a lot of them bigger, which is cool.
That's great. I love seeing it.
Where are you getting different at stacks today?
My most exposed team as of right now is the Toronto Blue Jays. Where you landed on my Jays.
Against Falter? I don't hate that. I think that's fine.
Well, don't worry. I got a couple more that you will. Falter stinks. 16 over the past year and a half, a 16% K rate to lefties, 16% K rate to righties, 208 X ISO to lefties. Now, this park does kill lefty power, and the Blue Jays are only expected to run out one lefty right now, which is Dalton Varsho. So that doesn't play into my hands. Oh, still giving up a 200X ISO to righties. Righty power gets played up in Toronto. They're running out 8 righties. Schneider, Jansen, Guerrero, Bichette, Turner, Springer. They got plenty of right-handed pop. I think they bludgeon Bailey Falter here. I think Toronto is the best stack you can get to given their current ownership. We have them 5th in top stack. I actually have them 3rd. So I'm a bit heavier on Toronto than we are in the data, and it is showing based on my exposure because I am jamming the top of the order.
Okay. I have a decent amount of Toronto. It doesn't appear that I have nearly as much as you do. One team I am getting quite a bit of right now, and it doesn't look like they're going to be all that popular today, is the Boston Red Sox against Kenta Maeda.
Okay.
I don't hate it. I mean,
they're my 5th most exposed team. I do have them. I'm neutral to the field.
He has had a few egregiously bad starts this year. I love picking on pitchers like this that like kind of fly under the radar, right? Like they kind of just fall through the cracks because they haven't been awful, but they haven't been good. But then you look at it and you're like, man, he's had a couple really nice starts. Oh, then he's had several with 3 home runs allowed in each and just gotten walloped.
X ISO since the beginning of last year against righties for Kenta Maeda, 220.
Not good.
249 regular ISO. So they bring it down, still getting absolutely smacked. Now, Red Sox are going to be trotting out a lot more lefties. That is better for them, and they don't really have righty power. Based on the guys that are in the lineup right now, Ref Snyder projects at a 125 ISO. Connor Wong is right around 150. Vaughn Grissom at 115. Rafaela around 150. So they don't really, like, most of their pop is lefty bats, so that does help Maeda, but boy, oh boy, does he get bludgeoned against righties.
He does. And, even this year, I know his X ISO is lower than his ISO, but still a 214 ISO, 348 WOBA to lefties.
It's
still not good.
Look, like I said, I have 9% of Boston. That's right around the field. They are the highest owned team right now, but I do think that is justified.
He's also just the type of guy that could give you like 5 1-run innings today. And you go, all right. Or just get shelled. And I kind of like those spots, especially when Boston, like they are popular, but no one's really popular. I don't
No.
really care that much when everyone's at single digit ownership, no matter how you cut it.
Yeah, they're the highest owned team, but they're not chalk.
Right.
There's a distinction there.
What about Cleveland against Corbin today? This is a spot that man, I like this. Even if it's one-offs, I like the Cleveland Indians. Sorry, the Cleveland Guardians.
Racist.
I don't think I'll ever get
Racist.
that right, dude. I don't think I'm ever going to get that right. Against,
Just, you can try being an adult.
I,
Have you thought about that?
it's just, I can't help it.
Just try being a grown man.
Dude, Corbin against righties, 214 X ISO, 236 actual ISO, 396 WOBA. He has a 392 X WOBA, 9% swinging strike rate, 12% strikeout rate against righties this year. I actually think that Corbin has been a little bit lucky.
I wish that I were with you here. I have one single share of Jonathan Rodriguez and no other parts of the Cleveland Indians right now. Swoop, Guardians. See, that's you're a bad you're a bad influence. Yeah, you're a bad influence. See, you're putting these dirty words in my mouth, man. I don't speak like that normally.
Cleveland indigenous peoples.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not getting there. Now, so they're kind of like the reverse of Toronto for me. We have them 6th in top stack at 5%. I have them 12th at 3.5. So I sort of am a little bit more juiced to Toronto, a little bit less so for Cleveland. I get where you're going though.
You know what it is for me? Like this Cleveland. First of all, I'm getting. They're my 3rd highest 5-man stack exposure. So
okay,
I'm not getting a lot. I'm only getting 2% 3-man, 2% 4-player Cleveland, but right now 11% Cleveland 5-man stacks. My stack exposure is also relatively spread out.
Yeah, not me. I have 4 teams north of 10%.
So do I, but nobody.
I have 3 at 17 or higher.
Wait, is this just 5-man stacks or is this?
Yeah.
Okay. So 5-man stacks, I'm at 18, 12, 11, and 10. Those are my 4 above 10 or 10 and higher.
So I'll hit you with mine. It's the Blue Jays at the top. Atlanta is 2. They have not been good for me lately, but I am getting all of the Atlanta Braves.
Sean B was right.
I guess we're here now. My third most exposed team are the Detroit Tigers.
Tigers.
Yeah.
Against Tanner Howe?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's not great.
I have nothing. I have 1 3-man Tiger stack. That's it. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I don't. I think the ownership for Tanner Houck is what's driving my Tigers exposure. So they're like really
good though.
166 X ISO to lefties is
pretty good.
High enough. 113 to righties. They don't hit them. But lefties, Riley Green season, Colt Keith season, Akil Baddoo season. I hope. And then my 4th most exposed team, it doesn't get better here. It's the Oakland A's.
Dude, you got some wild exposures today. That's crazy.
I mean, the Braves make sense. They've got the second highest implied total on the slate. The Blue Jays have the 3rd highest implied total. Those 2 are normal. Tigers, A's, that's the zigzag. A's are free today.
That's more than a zigzag.
Hey, we have the A's 3rd in top value, 10th in stack score, 15th in ownership. Yeah. There's a little bit of a gap there for them. Park plays up power. Ronaldo Lopez is a question mark.
Yeah.
I can't justify the Tigers ones. They look like shit.
No, I wanted to hear you try. Like, if the best justification is 166 ISO versus lefties, which is still above average.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't help it. I think they're underowned. I think they're underowned. And that's driving. I think they, as individual bats, are underowned. And I think Tanner Houck is slightly overowned on the opposite side. And I think both of those factors are what's driving me to get to Detroit. We got to remember, It's not like I think Detroit is good. I just think their probabilities and their ownership are, I think their probabilities of success are a little bit higher than their ownership, and it's causing me to get there. This could look a lot like the Padres did yesterday or 2 days ago, whenever we did the show and the Marlins were garbage, and we were like, look, 5% of the time, like they're the highest scoring stack on this slate. I think it was the Marlins. And, Darvish goes out there, gets bombed, and you needed the ass end of the day to thrive. There are days where
Right.
the Detroit Tigers are the best team. We have them 3% to be the top scoring stack today. 1 out of every 30 days, the Detroit Tigers get this thing done. And if that's the case, I'm going to be not fighting a lot of people at the top.
I don't think you'd be fighting anybody. Yeah.
It's going to be just if their family members play DFS and they
Yeah.
wanted to roster their friends.
The thing about Cleveland, though, the Guardians,
Who?
they're 6% ownership on the Guardians. Like dude, this team is second in ISO versus left-handed pitching, top 3 in WRC plus. Like when you kind of just look at this team, and I know a lot of it is, a handful of players. That's not lost on me. Like, dude, Jose Ramirez has just been insane against lefties. There's a 424 WOBA, 308 ISO versus lefties this year. It's crazy.
Just crushing.
Mashing them. But nobody, even Ramirez, because he's really expensive, but the rest of this team is pulling, nobody's getting, even Ramirez, more than 7% ownership individually. Really low owned right now. If this holds, Cleveland's getting nothing outside of Tanner Bybee.
8 to Freeman, 8 to Jimenez, 8 to Jonathan Rodriguez, 7 to Jose Ramirez. I mean, that's very minimal ownership for the fifth highest
we just
owned
updated
team.
20 minutes ago, and it's
okay.
And Ramirez is the highest. No one else is above 7.
There we go.
What else are you looking at here?
We mentioned the Red Sox before, but we got to talk about the Braves. They're still loaded. The team is it's still one of the best offenses here, even without Acuna. Their top 4 hitters are all over 5K. They all deserve those price tags. You get JP Sears on the opposite side. Sears gives up infinite power to righties. He's going to see Albies, Riley, Acuna right out of the gate. Does he give up less power to lefties? Yeah. Does Matt Olson care? No. Sean Murphy should crush. Adam Duvall should crush. There's so much power potential in this Atlanta lineup where, you're not going to be surprised if you go out there and you see Atlanta scored 1 run, but they could also put up 15 because of the amount of dudes that can go yard here. The park plays up power in a big way. Sears gives up 217x ISO over the past year and a half to righties. I think Atlanta's in a really nice spot. I think the reason that their run total is as high as it is seems correct to me. And the highest ownership guys from Atlanta right now are 9%. Well, whatever we have in the update, but it was 9% to Austin Riley as the high mark. Yeah, give me the team with the second highest run total today on a day where I don't have to go to 10K pitchers if I don't like that. That's not really like the range. I have enough value to get to Atlanta. I think they look fantastic.
I understand it. I do. And that's a team that has let a lot of people down recently.
Yeah.
But you still know there's a lot of talented power bats. That's like a lot of talented bats with power in that lineup. They're not going to not hit forever. It's kind of one of those things,
80 degrees in Atlanta, 110 park factor to righties and lefties for power. Like this looks like a nice spot.
I hear you.
Like I've 32% Austin Riley. I fill my third base spot with a guy projecting for a 230 ISO, taking on a lefty that gives up a 200 ISO in a park that plays up 10% righty power. Like 1 or 2 of these righty bats from Atlanta should be putting the ball in the cheap seats.
And also, Sears is not someone that's going to get by with swing and miss stuff. 16% K rate.
Yeah. 20 to lefties and righties over the past year and a half. Middle of the pack swinging strike rate. Like there's nothing to be feared.
Not at all. I wanted to just look at the lineups that I got from the Sims and see like what just the top simmed ROI spots are. And
mine's Toronto at the top, but I can hit on my top lineups if we want to.
Yeah, well, that's what I was. You're gonna like this, right? So my top lineup if I'm sorting by simulated ROI, which by the way, if you're using the Sims tool, That's what you should be sorting by, and that's how you should be. Doesn't mean don't like save the lineups you want, but it means like when you're doing the ROI boosts and whatever you're doing, you still want to be resorting by simmed ROI. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of this tool. Walker Buehler, Jose Soriano.
That's my number one lineup.
With a 4-3 Blue Jays Braves stack.
Okay, so I have Walker Buehler, Jose Soriano, 5-3 Blue Jays Red Sox.
Okay. Yeah, so my second one, Dylan Cease, Walker Buehler, 5-3 Seattle Cleveland. So that's an interesting one. Seattle against Soriano. I think just also because Seattle's getting no ownership at all, and there is power in that lineup.
My number 2 lineup is Tanner Bibee, Ronaldo Lopez, 5-man Tigers, 3-man Jays.
All right, it's Bibee. I don't know if this is a thing, if this is a bit.
It's spelled Bibee. It's spelled Bibee.
I don't care how it's spelled. Just like Palante.
Yeah, Bibee.
Who went out and shut down the Reds, by the way.
Sure did.
That guy. I showed you the first inning, Josh. It was like ground out, walk, ground into double play. Just like 10 pitches out of the inning. Crazy.
Yeah, dude, right now, 5 of my top 6 ranked lineups are Tiger stacks.
Really?
Yeah.
What's your pitching in those?
It's Tanner Bibee, Ronaldo Lopez, Barrios Soriano, Barrios Myers, and Bibee Buehler.
Wow.
But yeah, they are ranking quite high for me right now. And then it becomes this mishmash of everybody else.
How much total exposure are you getting to?
Let's not get ourselves bogged down on total exposure.
Tigers.
17% aggregate.
If they go off today, this is going to be historical. Like this is marketing through the whole summer.
They're in so many of my lineups.
I'm trying to see if there's any other appealing spots.
It's weird. Like the teams that I've mentioned, Blue Jays, Red Sox, Tigers, Braves, A's, they're making up 80% of all of my exposure. The next team that I have is 5% to the Marlins. Like I just don't have really anything else. Marlins are free today against Jose Urena. Second in top value, 21st in top stack. I have it 16th, but basically the same number. I don't have, other than the Marlins just simply having everybody other than Jazz Chisholm be sub 3,700. I don't really have another team that we haven't touched on yet.
Texas against Sanchez.
I have 1% Dodgers. That is the only team that I have any exposure to that starts at 10 o'clock. I have 0 Rockies, Mariners, Angels, Giants, and Yankees.
Okay. Damn.
Yankees, I mean, like Rockies, Mariners, Angels, Giants are all like pretty low top stack teams.
Yeah. I mentioned I had 4 teams with 10 double-digit 5-man exposure. Yeah. Dodgers were actually number 4.
Okay, like that's a team where I don't have it. I think because I'm getting to the Braves pay-ups instead of the Dodgers pay-ups, but it's basically we're talking about the same thing. Expensive, top of the order, ultra talented. If I had it, I wouldn't be mad. I think I just have Atlanta and not the Dodgers, but the Dodgers do look good.
I love this slate. This is a fun slate.
So do I. I like it a lot. No real weather concerns. So like we don't have to really give too many shits about that. I don't have to care too much about the 10 o'clock lineups coming in. If I don't have these dudes, I don't really give a shit who ends up in the lineups. Like it's all earmarked pretty well. Katie's out of town, so I can just go crazy tonight and watch a shit ton of baseball.
What are you going to do?
I'll just masturbate everywhere.
Just pump off?
Yeah, every room, man.
I got to show you the one. So.
What are you about to show me that prompted you?
No. So Howard Stern, back when, he was worth listening to, there was a time, there was a golden era there. For sure.
He's incredible.
Particularly the Artie Lang days for me. Like I still go back and listen to previous stuff and that with, like Eric the Midget and Hank the Angry Drunken
That's
Dwarf.
I don't think you're
That was
dude, you are
that was their
using a
name?
lot of words you're not supposed to use today, man. You started it off speaking ill of the people of Cleveland's
Yeah,
baseball
he's the midget Indian. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what we'll take.
Yeah. I can't
But
imagine what other direction you're about to go for the rest of this. The slurs that you're going to be using. There are so many more races that you can
Richard
demean.
Richard and Sal used to they'd call in to like Swap Shop or Tradio, and they would do those wild prank calls. You remember that?
Okay. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Richard comes in the one talking about like he's trying to sell these records. He's like, but my grandson just learned how to pump off and he's been spraying all over the place. And I'll send it to you. I can't do it justice. I'll send it to you. It's so good, man. Talking about there being stains all over what they're trying to sell. Anyway, besides the point, they used to do some good work. That show sucks now.
Yeah,
absolutely sucks.
I listened to him talk to Nikki Glazer about like roast jokes she didn't use and stuff, but that was a highlight that got past me. But other than that, I haven't listened to Stern in a decade plus.
Yeah, Andy said, Laffy, hours of those calls on YouTube for sure. But they go and they remove them too. It's such nonsense. As if the guy doesn't have enough, he has to go and remove every single Howard Stern clip from the old days that you can't find anywhere else. Real scumbag, that guy. Yeah, we'll close the show with this, Einstein. He said, Lavi, you touch on Baltimore. All right, so yeah, we can wrap with that. Hold on, let me pull something up here.
Against Savali. Speaking of Artie, by the way, I caught a conversation between your boy Norm and Artie. Norm was asking Artie about this bit that he wanted to do called Goodwill Smith.
Yes, let's not get into that. I'm well aware. Yeah, you're not going to say that. I will.
They were able to figure out 2 + 2.
Yeah, I'll say a lot of things. We're not doing that. We're not getting into the.
Dude, I was dying when I saw it. It's so good. Will Smith's a janitor. It figures out 2 + 2 and everybody freaks out.
Yeah, that was going around. And Norm always prodded him to get him to talk.
What about Goodwill Smith?
Yeah.
He's just you can see him like cheesing trying to say it because he knows where it's going.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's the best. But yeah,
basically the same way that I just brought it up to you.
Yes. And like tried to indulge me on that. I don't see, I guess there's something there. Einsteinium, now that I look at Savali, because he actually hasn't been that good, right? His strikeout stuff's been pretty decent. The one thing that stands out to me is he's giving up a lot of power.
Are we pitching Orioles stack right now?
Yeah, it's actually, I'm glad he brought it up because I didn't really dig deep into that. But Savali has a 16.9% home run to fly ball rate, 34% ground ball rate, 1 3/4 home runs per 9. He's been a bit unlucky for sure, but not that unlucky, particularly from the power department. And it's in Baltimore.
I have a little bit of Baltimore.
Yeah, I don't hate this spot, actually.
No, I want to see if I give a 1% boost to Baltimore, how much more do I actually get?
Yeah, let me know, because 76 degrees and sunny at first pitch as well in Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, I can just a 1% boost. I have 5% Baltimore now. They're 1.3% owned.
Okay.
10% of Gunnar Henderson. You get a lefty bat in a park that plays up lefty power against a guy that plays up lefty power. And he strikes out lefties more, but I don't really give it. I don't care how they get out. I only care if they succeed.
It's wild. Where do you think Baltimore, where do you think Camden Yards ranks looking at, the park factors and StatCast or Baseball Savant, the 3-year rolling average? Where do you think that field ranks for home runs?
Overall or to a particular hand? Because lefties are big, righties are less so.
Exactly. So lefties at that park, it's 15th. So no, I'm sorry, hold on. That can't be.
That's got to be righties.
No. It's 8th. Righties, it's 28th.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah, it's a very, very distinctly different park for righties and lefties.
Big
And I don't
time.
think people realize it.
So before we go, let me just look up Savali versus.
I got it here.
Let's get it. What is it?
170 x ISO to lefties over the past year and a half with a 27% K rate. 120 x ISO to righties with a 20% K rate. But when you're talking about against hitting, I don't give a shit how my hitters get out. Like, I prefer it to not be a strikeout because balls in play can advance runners and things, but I don't really care if he strikes out lefties more frequently. I just want to know if he gives up more power. I'm looking for upside. Downside is all the same. Whether they score 0 runs, 3 runs, 5 runs, those guys aren't going to be the guys that are in the winning lineups for me unless it's a multi-homer game. I don't care how they got out at that point. So the lefty power in Baltimore with a park that plays up lefty. So if you're getting to Gunnar, Adley Rutschman will be hitting from the left side today. Ryan O'Hearn, Santander is going to hit from the left side. He's got a 200 projected ISO. Even like Colton Cowser and Cedric Mullins, like that's enough pop moving down the lineup. I think Baltimore might be getting slept on a little bit.
They might be.
They're expensive.
I also just, I was going to say, I also just don't know if I get to that much of them because it's going to come at the expense of a lot of other really nice stacks today. So
yeah. Yeah, look,
anyway.
they're 26th or were 26th in top value. I had them 25th, but either way, we're talking about either the worst value team on the slate or the second worst value team on the slate. It's why they're not getting as much ownership. They do work as a nice pay up to be contrarian team.
For sure. Anyway, hey, appreciate you guys. Much appreciated. Fun show today. Fun slate.
Yeah.
We're going into the weekend. Last day. If you join late, 50% off the entirety of the month. MLB Sims Max package. It's not just the Sims. It's the Sims, which you're going to want and you're going to use every day, and you're going to build really good lineups with it. But it's every other tool, every other piece of data, everything we have. Same with the Discord. So everything for baseball included. 50% off everything for the whole month. You guys will love it. Today's the last day. Jump in, say what's up in Discord. If you have questions, hit us up. We're happy to help. Follow Josh at Josh Ingham and me at Lafayette_D. Shout out to Mike for producing, and we'll see you back here for the next one. Peace.
Good luck to all my Kraut Mick friends out there.
Well.